The Working Artist Project is brought to you by Second Line Arts Collective. Learn how you can support at secondlinearts.org.
We're creating a platform for those who are curious, one that tells the story from the artist's perspective. Moments in time, captured from the innovators who are reshaping dance, music, theater, and the visual arts. This is the Working Artist Project.
Yeah, y'all. Yeah, y'all. Welcome to the Working Artist Project. What's up, Greg?
Good evening, Mr. Douglas. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm feeling good. We got one of my old friends, one of your old friends, Mr. Ashlin Parker.
Yeah, we're very lucky to have one of the great trumpeters, one of the great musicians, and one of the all-time wonderful personalities of New Orleans joining us this evening, the great Ashlin Parker. Yo, Ashlin, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm going to send you a check for those very nice words, guys. Thank you so much.
Well, man, honestly, like having known you over the last 10 or so years, it's not really hard to find anything nice to say about you because from musically and also personally, like you're one of the most amazing and killing cats I know. So thank you for being you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I wanna
And
say-
I know it's not about you guys, but I have to say that I could only imagine you guys being some of the more positive teachers here in this age where it's hard to stay positive so much. I could just only imagine you guys being a very positive force on the students that you guys are working with, and I'm sure extremely engaging, as you are on the bandstand, So
sometimes, bro. I don't know.
yeah, I wish I was taking your guys' class sometimes,
Look, man, I was
Appreciate
gonna
that
say,
very much.
for the people out there, they don't know this. Most people don't know this, but because of Ashlyn, I have a music career. Did you know that, Greg?
Actually, I didn't know that.
Did
Yeah.
I?
My
Did
first
I?
gig, my
Well,
first gig
Darrian,
in
do
New Orleans.
tell.
Yeah, my first gig in New Orleans was with Ashlyn at Snug Harbor. Snug Harbor used to have this late night hit, and
Oh, the
I was
midnight
there.
sets.
Yeah, I was in New Orleans hanging out for no reason, and then Ashlyn was like, "Man, you want to play a gig tomorrow?" I ain't even lived there. I was like, "Yeah, bro."
All right, well, let's back it up. Let's back it up. Let's
Okay,
let's
okay.
you back it up. And I remember I had a gig at Snug Harbor. I think it might have been one of those late nights after E and on Friday. And I think Simon Lott was on the gig, and he was the one that was like, "Yo, you got to hear my boy sit in." So it was Simon that actually if I remember that right. Do I remember that right? Was it Simon?
Maybe because I took lessons with Simon when I was in college.
Okay. So yeah, and you sat in and you played like, I mean, on the first chorus, just coming off into my solo, I was like, I need this cat on the gig, just completely fearless, completely fearless. We all messed up that gig that we ended up doing the Kenny Dorham songs, man. It was a Kenny Dorham tribute, and that was a fun one to give us all the pipe, So yeah,
Absolutely.
man, I definitely don't regret, you know, having that, and even if we all fail, but we fail forward, we do,
Yeah,
let's hurry up and fail. Hurry up.
Ashlyn, you remember you did a gig? I guess it was a midnight set also, but you did it with Jake Saslow. Was that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was this a different gig? Or was this the same?
No.
gig?
This would have been the same series. And I think I might even had Colin on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was trying to get some of those monk cats in there before they left, and that was the last Monk Institute in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Man, real quick though, Jake Saslow, I dropped him off, and this is how it gets connected to you, Greg. I picked him up in Charlotte, and he's like, man, I got this gig. I don't necessarily want to tell you what it is. I'm like, what is it? What's the gig? And he's all like, Michael Bublé. I was like, bro, first of all, can I get a loan? Second of all, don't be ashamed that you're out here working. I'm over here doing a $75 gig. Yeah, everybody's crushing. It goes, you know. So go ahead and buy a house, man. You know. And fast forward, you know, another 10 years or 8 years, 6 years or something like that. Now you're doing the gig. Hopefully you're not as ashamed of it though, because there's some hitters on there, man. Some hitters in that band.
I would, man. That's actually one of the most killing big bands I've ever played in.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is.
Super crazy.
I think folks get confused that you know, commercial music versus the most enriching soul music you could ever play is not always the same thing. And always, you know, all the friends that I know that are master jazz trumpet players, they have houses from playing with artists that aren't squished in that thing of what jazz is, and they still get blowing time, and you know, and they end up really enriching those experiences. So if you don't like any of that commercial music, well, make it better. you know, you know, you know, yeah, you know. That's what I see folks doing, you know.
That's always what I tell myself. With I went to 2 high schools, and one of them was not the most positive experience, and so sometimes they ask me to go back and work with the kids, and I always tell myself, I'm always like, oh, I hated this school and everyone was mean to me, but then I was like, you know what, I might be the one person that shows up in this 4 years of this kid's life that tells them something different.
All right.
So
right.
I'm gonna try and make it better. So
I was teaching this rearranging and arranging class in at UNO almost 10 years ago, and I made sure I asked everyone. I was like, all right, so pick a song. Everybody name a song that you hate that's on the radio that just like, oh my God, once you hear it, it just makes you absolutely crazy. And they all picked a song genuinely because they didn't know what was coming. And I said, well, great, you're next. You forgot what class this was, but now your job is to arrange a song so that's up to your standards or whatever that is. If it needs new lyrics, if it needs new chords, if it needs a new melody, if it needs a new beat behind it, what is it? Make it better, you know? And usually it's not make it better. It's just making it better for either a certain audience, you know, or a certain situation, you know, but make it better. You know?
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
I actually didn't see that one coming.
Did you?
But yeah, like I want to segue back into like kind of like talking more about you and how you got to this point. But like you were saying, teaching, man, something that I admire about you is I've seen you teach at Tulane a couple times, and you know you're you know that look that like a puppy gives you, like when you show up at home, they just love you, man. Some teachers have that special ability with their students when they show up, and it's just like everything stops, and they're just like, man, Mr. Parker's here, and you have that ability. And I've seen you just like completely captivate a room as an educator. And I was wondering if you would be able to talk about maybe your earlier years of being a musician, how you got into music, and maybe if you had any influences that you look up to like that when you were coming up.
Well, my senior year of high school, I left the magnet school, art school that I was going to previously. And that was kind of the biggest level up that I did at that age. And my teacher was Raymond Mace, the brass department chair of Juilliard. And he flew down every 11 days for like 7-8 hours, taught the trumpet studio, and then flew back. And he did that for 25 years, you know, amazing player. He's the, you know, principal trumpet here. He's amazing. And I was almost strictly classical at that point. And I think he opened up the trumpet in a way that I just wasn't. I was just almost just playing the trumpet. I mean, I really wasn't conscious of what I'm doing with my air, what I'm doing with my mouthpieces. I mean, I had mouthpieces that were just terrible for what I was trying to grow. He got me off of those, got my sound a little bit fuller, Um, but it was so scary coming into those lessons. I remember him practicing, and I would be scared to knock on the door. He's the nicest guy ever, but when I'm listening to it, I'm just, the music is another beast, and I've never heard the trumpet do that before. So I would be interrupting something that I've never heard before. I mean, I don't even understand. So I used to wait for those breaks. I'd sometimes wait 5-10 minutes, like, okay, ding, 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 and then I would come in and he's putting the music away, and I'd say, sorry, can I see you were reading that? Can I see what you're reading? And it's all these like triplets that are in like ratios, like it sounds like it's speeding up and it sounds like it's slowing down, but it's not, and just absolutely crazy stuff. So most of the music that he played was commissioned for him in the American Brass Quintet. And in many situations, he'd have to send that stuff back because it's actually beyond the limit of what the horn could do. So that means pretty much all the music he's playing would be on that same border, maybe just a little bit, actually impossible. Oh, no, that's possible. Just really on that line. And I used to listen to a lot of that music, and I had no idea that it would later on influence my free jazz or avant-garde playing. And that's the stuff that I reference every time I play it. Simon Lott's the only person that heard that and randomly. He was like, man, you sound like American Brass Quintet. I was like, what? First of all, that's what you're listening to? Like on your, you gotta, Simon's got ears, man. You know what I mean? So, you gotta watch that cat, man. But that's one of my earliest influences. And then I went off to Conservatory Shenandoah University. And that's kind of when I started to get my theory together and understand how to, I had muscle memory for bebop. I just didn't know where the stuff goes. I don't know where the stuff goes. I don't know what an altered G7 is or not. So I didn't necessarily have complete control over the vocabulary that I had. So my teacher that was at Shenandoah, the solo chair of the Army Blues jazz ensemble, big band, Craig Frederick, and he whooped me for 4 years straight. So I kind of owe most of it to him. He won't take it, but after our first year is really interesting. We did a lot of talking, but after the first year, we didn't talk much at all. He'd play, and then I'd have to hear what he's thinking about, and then I would have to do it. I wouldn't play what he's playing because I could never do that, but I would have to think, oh, he's using these alterations on these dominant chords, or if he's using this two motives or these motives. I had to figure out what is he thinking about on this thing, because I know he's giving me clues on what to do, and I had to pick it up. And it really helped me moving to New Orleans and getting thrown in this trumpet battles and just randomness, and I'm like, oh, okay, now I have to do this, and still trying to keep my voice in all these different genres, going from Simon Lott on playing at Dragon's Den back when there was so much avant-garde, like, you know what I mean? There was so much avant-garde on Frenchman
back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. And then I would go to, with Otra doing a Cuban gig, and then a big band gig, and then, a fusion gig, and then a straight ahead bebop gig. It was just like a lot of different avenues, and it's probably my favorite thing about New Orleans, is in a way, like, those aren't even genres. There's just different grooves, there's like, you're still going to have to figure out how you get in there. So no matter what, if I'm playing with a singer-songwriter in Nashville, I'm still going to have to figure out how to, be sensitive to what's going on, but then also express myself like how I like to express myself. So with such an open-ended question, I don't want to give you my whole life story, but it gives you an idea of my education. And I came down in New Orleans 2007 to get my master's, which I was asked to audition. They were like, you need to audition. There's no trumpet players auditioning for this Louis Armstrong assistantship program. So that got me right
the
into
quintet, man.
Exactly. That got me right into the teaching. We were going to almost every elementary school and middle school and high school in New Orleans with these informances. And, it was amazing seeing 5-year-olds scat for the first, allowing 5-year-old New Orleanians to scat for the first time. I probably didn't believe in blood memory until I moved down here. When I saw a 5-year-old scat in the pocket and phrase, I was like, you never done that before? Wow, you're like literally better than me at this, so I'm just, it's easy to stay humble, man. I love to to battle other trumpet players and try to do the best we can. But I mean, I've been outplayed by folks with finger buttons missing on the horn, man. It's like, New Orleans is another beast, man, And I love when New York musicians come down thinking that they're gonna kick us over, look like we're all playing whole notes and quarter notes or something, and, and then somebody calls Magnolia Triangle on them, and then they're like, wait a minute, y'all have a modern jazz scene here? Yeah, for 60 years. Over 60 years we've had it, and tons of tunes,
I think, man, the most interesting thing about you, or intriguing, I would say, for me, is that you're a true student of the music. And that it's not too many people like that, man. I remember specifically one time we were hanging out at your house. I'm like, all right, cool. We're gonna go to the house and hang out. And you had your trumpet practicing in between. You'd be like, yeah, bro. I'm like, damn, okay, this dude practicing all day. So I was like, I gotta go home and practice. So like, it inspired me to be a better musician, to see how dedicated you were to the trumpet. I've actually never seen you without your trumpet. And I've known you for a long time over 10 years at this point, man.
Yeah. I mean, I sometimes I think about that. I mean, I think about the times I showed up on Frenchman without my horn, and I've been shamed. I've been called names, you know what I mean? On the microphone, it's like, well, that kind of puts stuff in perspective. I go see my heroes, and I try to wear a hoodie and be in the back. I remember I wanted to see Leroy Jones. I didn't want to sit in. I just wanted to absorb all of it. And I had a fitted cap all the way down here with a hood on top of it and braids. And I really thought he called me out from the back of the room. Is that Ashlin Incognito over there? So there's a whole nother thing, is like, you almost take offense if you don't bring your horn to someone's gig. It's like what? So you're gonna save it for somebody else that deserves it more than me? Or what's the logic around not sharing in this experience? And it's just like, oh, okay, yeah, no. My logic was I wanted it selfishly. I wanted it. I didn't want to share. I wanted to share and not participate. And that's just not it. That's just not the aesthetic that prevails here in New Orleans. This is a participatory art,
It's funny you say all of that stuff. I mean, because when I think of like who in New Orleans is like cultivating a community, I think of a couple cats, like Jesse McBride is one of them. You're also like right up there. Like I remember like getting text messages every Sunday. There'd be like a shed at your house back in the day when you lived on Frenchman Street.
Absolutely. And that's the birth of the Trumpet Mafia as well.
Yeah. And so then like also like up into like what you're doing now with the Trumpet Mafia and things like that, and even at teaching over at Tulane and your various other institutions, like why like this community is so important to you, and like what drives you to be that mentor to a lot of young musicians too these days?
Well, I have to tell you that I come from two educators. I come from two college administrators. So, and they teach teachers. And so that's, I've had to, I battle with being too didactic at certain points, you know what I mean? And I don't like to offer coaching, but I never turn it down. And, in a way, I don't, and I don't ask for money for lessons. There's not people watching this. If I charge you for a lesson, and I teach a lot of lessons, but if I charge you for a lesson, I'm happy to give your money back. You must be the 3 people I've ever charged You know, but you know, I feel like, you know, if I went to the Grand Canyon and I'm walking back from the Grand Canyon, it was an amazing experience, and I almost fell off, and I had all these things and blah blah blah, and I survived it, and I'm well hydrated, and I see Greg flying down that direction. I'm gonna let you know that there's a canyon. You know, there's a canyon right there. You probably should slow up, and I don't need you to actually thank me for that. You know what I mean? It's just like I was there. It's almost just like my civil duty, you know. Folks did it for me, so you know it would be really weird for me to see it any other way. Now, with a lot of the community sheds that I'm doing, it's not necessarily me informal masterclass where Ashlin's leading it. I mean, there's a phenomenon that I just can't get over, that I think we learn better socially. I think learning is a social thing. I think if you go in a mountain and do all your learning in a, you know, and grow a 10-foot beard, I just think you'll sound like an alien. And I think it's more social. I think it's more a social phenomenon. You know what I mean? Not, you know,
Yeah.
not that there's a lot of peace and a lot of things that you could figure out by yourself. But a lot of those are at least a lot of those things are at least triggered by something that happened with people. So you know, I found out what I needed to shed by hearing somebody like, oh, okay, I can't do that, and that sounds good, and that's actually really appropriate for the situation, and I can't do that. So I actually can't play as appropriate to the situation as that person is doing, and I'd like those skill sets, you know. So you know, to me, I just want to practice with people. Practicing with myself feels like the last 8 months, and we all know what that feels like. You know, it's like it's not as cool. It's not as cool. You know, I think everybody kind of proved the point. You know, it's just like, wow, this is a lot of people quitting playing, a lot of people searching for motivation, and you're not alone. You're not alone. You know, I've been studying motivation for the last year. You know, and it was interesting to go into a motivation crisis, you know, 4 months into my study, and then have Ellis pass, and then have you know all my inner stuff out of whack. You know, I mean, I probably stopped practicing for almost 2 months. You know, I played for people safely and from a distance. And you saw me on one of those. But you totally pulled up on us. You know, I had to love it again. I had to, you know, everything goes over the social side for me. I think the music I play is social, the learning the craft of that stuff. It's all really heavy social phenomena. And that's why I really feel like in some of these college courses, discourses, that we need to actually teach students how to keep a gig. You know, they'll wow us with their chops and their abilities, and then, you know, but are you sure that I can put you in a van for 19 cities without choking you? You know, it's like, so you know, folks have to learn that it's a social game, and you can't just say you're different, and you know, you're allowed to be weird. That's fine. You know, weird is cool. I live in New Orleans, you know, like some of the coolest people I know is plenty weird. But if you're weird about being weird, then it starts to get extra uncomfortable. You know, you don't need to make people uncomfortable, you know. And so there's a lot of the social game that folks need to learn. I love the books around it. But you know, a lot of I learned was actually just growing up and not speaking as much when I'm around my elders, you know, not trying to control a conversation when I'm with my elders, you know, and just actually prompt them, try to get the most information as you can. You know, they don't need to know much about you. You know, it's not like, you know, hey, let me figure out how I can they don't like me. They like me. They're like, nah, man, keep your eyes on the prize. Is there something that you want from them? If that one thing is your respect or something. That's just not what I look for, out of an elder. No, they gotta respect me. That's just not. Don't come at elders. That's just a waste of time. If you're gonna get the information, get good at prompting and getting them to spill the beans.
Absolutely.
That's some great advice.
Yeah.
Actually, this just made me think of something I learned in college. What we had this cat coming in to, clinician or whatever, and everybody's, practicing their best chops in rehearsal, and the band was like, "All right, y'all, everybody stop. There is nothing you can play to impress this person who's been playing for 50 years.
Right.
Just
Right.
play the shit right on the page. Like you can't. know,
Right.
it's nothing.
Right.
You can do. And another thing you said is great too is listening more than you talk. Like all those years I played with E, I was just listening. Like he started talking, I'm shut the fuck up. Like
please.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I can get out of this. What can I learn?
Exactly. And I used to, and if it's quiet, because sometimes it's like, oh, he ain't saying nothing, I ain't saying nothing. I'm cool and resting in that. It's just like, wow, I'm eating with E. That's cool too. That's cool. Rather than, hey, in 1964, when you did this one note, were you thinking of G7 or were you thinking of D flat 7? It's like, is that what you want from him? You know what I mean? It's like, so, I used to love trying to prompt him. I'm like, I bet no one's asked him about his time with Blue Mitchell. It's like, tell me about Blue. What's Blue Mitchell like hanging around? I want to know what these folks is like. He knew him, he knew everybody, and so those stories are the gold. I've got a couple of little videos of me asking him that stuff, and getting that stuff out, but yeah, I think it's important to keep your eyes on the prize. Your goal cannot be, oh man, this person thinks I'm amazing. Are you amazing?
No.
Is that what you want? Is that like? But the scariest thing is like they thought you're amazing, but you're not. So like no need to
yeah,
no need to have them worshiping you. That's not what's going to happen.
That's not the purpose of that relationship.
It's not. It's not.
Hey, Mr. Marcellus, I'm amazing. Yeah, it's funny because it's like I've seen a lot of people do that, and it's painful to watch.
Yeah, but at the same time, there's no course. There's no course, guys, around that. So a lot of folks are getting out of school, tons of vocabulary, tons of stuff, and are expecting something or feel like they're owed something. And that's another approach that they approach the masters with. I mean, I spent all this money on this jazz degree. I'm a certified master. You know what I mean? I'm actually a certified master in this. You know what I mean? So you should totally let me play the rest of the set. Yeah, that's just not that you're not owed anything. You actually, now the dues are starting. That's not even dues. That's like, that's not even dues. Like
getting a master's is like baseline to begin the process of paying your due.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, now I know. Yeah, it's like, but I have this ontology of learning that my father taught me. It's great, and I teach a lot of my students this. And since this is an educational thing, I'll do it here, and I want to make sure. And then this really helps me understand where I'm at, because when you say something, there's just levels of this, and that's why when people are talking about mastery, I don't have the same definition. Is something that you can put on a degree after 2 years and say that's certified master. But there's 2 sub levels of learning. These people are not learning. The bottom is the super jerk. And the super jerk is someone who's participating in a domain where there's standards and practices, but has no idea that there's standards and practices in this domain. Bull in a china shop, right? Just knocking over priceless Fabergé eggs, but it's just an interesting noise to him. He didn't know that these were all $1 million, Fabergé eggs, right? Clueless. Next level sub learning is the jerk. And the jerk is someone who's participating in a domain where there's standards and practices, but feels like they don't apply to him or her, right? So this is the hot guy that slaps your girl on her backside because he's just that cool. He just thinks he's that cool that he's above those standards, you know? Or a horn player that comes in and just like, I don't know the tune, but you know, shoot, you know, I don't need to, I got enough soul that I don't need to worry about changes, you know? It's that's not how soul works. That's not how none of this works, you know? You know, you know, but just all the heart. I don't need to know what these changes are or to be able to hear them, you know. So the jerk is the one you actually kind of want to punch a little bit more. You almost feel sorry for the one that's like, what's changes, you know, you know, the super jerk. I didn't know that's what we're doing here. I'm sorry. Then you got the beginner that's getting a grasp of the standards and practices in a domain. Advanced beginner is starting to get some flow through the standards and practices within a domain, and competent is someone who can flow freely through the standards and practices in that domain. After that, it's virtuoso. Virtuoso is someone who's competent, can flow freely, but yet can do it with his own style, his or her own style, right? And then mastery is someone who's competent, can flow freely through the standards and practice, do it with their own style, but yet sets new standards or practices within that domain, right? So you don't call yourself a master. When we're shedding your stuff, that's when you're, you know, if you can't skip John Coltrane, you can't skip over Miles Davis, right? You know, you can't, you know, that's kind of what the thing, they set standards in that domain. So you literally just can't skip them. Or you might end yourself in a jerk territory, you know, you know what I mean? And so, like, you know, there's a lot of domains that, you know, just from the first tune to the second tune, but also from one bandstand to the next, the bandstand to the green room, you know, the domain changes, you know, and you know, you just have to make sure that you're always looking and trying to make sure you're at least aware of the standards and practices that are happening right now. And that will keep you out of a lot of social issues that you could have, as long as you are aware that that's what there's going on. If you're not aware, then you could be a super jerk somewhere, just knocking stuff over. You don't even know. You might want to ask somebody, am I tripping? You know, that's why it's good to have mentors and big brothers and big sisters that aren't just there to tell you sound great. You know, your mom's always, it's just, you're always killing. You're always going to be killing. You're always the nicest person. You need somebody that's just like, I mean, you know, you kind of, you got, you know, you know, you're kind of an asshole. You know, you need somebody to tell you that, like, because you know.
The interesting thing about music education is this: once you finish school, which school and music don't go together, in my personal opinion. Mm-hmm. Once you finish school, you realize that paper you just paid for is meaningless, because you can't show up to an Ashlin Parker gig with your master's or doctorate degree in jazz or fucking composition and say, hey man, I'm on this gig now, I'm qualified. That doesn't qualify you at all.
Yeah, you can sit in on the last tune just like the 15-year-old kid.
Yeah. So
you know what I'm saying? That's what it's gonna give you. You know, you might get rights. I might be pretty impressed. I'm like, wow, you did all that for a doctorate. Wow, okay. We'll see. I mean, come sit in, and then if you do not play like a doctor, like, you know, like a medical doctor, where you don't play with the proficiency of a medical doctor and the precision of a medical doctor, it almost is worse. It almost is, it's almost gonna backfire on you, you know. So don't, if you haven't figured it out at a master's degree, don't get a doctorate.
On that note, why don't we take
that's really bad advice, but I'm just saying, like, you know, we're 40 years into a tradition that's very harmful for musical education, that is the tradition of those who can't do teach, right? And so that's why I admire teachers like you guys are actually playing. You're actually in the scene. You're actually on the gigs. You're actually, in the lineage of this stuff, and that's kind of what we're missing across the board. You know, we need
Yeah.
folks that are in the profession to accurately assess what tools need to happen in this profession. You know, otherwise it's just tools to sound killing, and that's so subjective. You know,
I think that's one of the reasons why I love Alvin Baptiste so much, because if I ever had a question for him, I could just look at what he was doing. I just knew that I just needed to do what he was doing. And there was nothing he could say to me. He wouldn't say it. He would just do it all the time. And I feel like that's the importance of being on the scene as a working musician, is like, how do you teach someone to be a musician? Well, you got to be a musician yourself first. How do you teach someone to work? You got to work.
I mean, you can't. In a way, you can't teach anybody anything. You can show them the water's warmer on your side.
That's true too.
You know,
but I feel like it's like, again, like, I guess ultimately, you know, you have to be the example yourself.
Exactly.
People will see that if they can digest that difference between them and you or whatever. You know, we can work
absolutely
towards
out of sight,
like
out of mind. I'm sorry, it's out of sight, out of mind. You know, I can't tell you how many. And I know you want to go to a break, but I can't tell you how many female musicians that I've taught in the last 10 years that picked up their instrument because they saw Esperanza Spalding, you know, or they saw, you know, Tia Fuller. And that's kind of, you know, that's my thing. It's the same thing. If you're growing up in a neighborhood without black doctors and black lawyers, you don't think that that's for you. You know, it's the same thing. It's like you have to see somebody in that seat that looks like you and doing that thing, you know, and that's what gets you on track, you know, but at least get you motivated and raise your self-efficacy, because that's kind of one of the biggest issues is people don't believe in their own abilities, you know.
Absolutely.
And so when you see it, you start to believe it. Look, hey, you know, we did it. I can do it, you know. So
there you go. All right. We're gonna take 5 minutes, not even 5, 3 minutes, and we'll be right back, y'all.
all right.
All right. We're back here. We got Darrian and Ashlin Parker in the house.
Yo.
Well, we just have a couple minutes left, and so Ashlyn, we kind of just like covering all kinds of things, but I know recently, we're in the age of COVID, and this is what this November 16th, 2020, and I know you just
Yes.
kind of went through. Oh man, were you just playing trumpet?
I was playing. Is that Stephen Lands? Was that Stephen Lands?
Yeah, that was
I
sweet.
was trying. I was trying to steal all his stuff, man. I was. Yeah, I just had a little COVID scare. That was scary. I had my first negative test today, but I was exposed 5 days ago. And it's increasingly hard as the rates are going up to get ourselves back into an April March kind of frame of mind of just we're back at level 5. Masks don't. I mean, Thanksgiving to me is just impossible. I don't I don't know how you guys gonna do it, but be very safe in what you do. It's going to, if you do get sick, it's going to be somebody you love and you trust, and you can't hate them. That it's just crazy. The guy that exposed me knew the next day that he was exposed. It's just so hard to keep that stuff traced. So
Yeah, it has nothing to do with whether you love or you respect the other person. It's like sometimes you don't even know yourself if you've been exposed, and by the time you find out, it's too late.
Yeah, exactly. So
home. That's what I say.
What's that?
Stay your ass at home.
Yeah, I mean, you stay home and cook your own food and or wipe down all your deliveries. I'm back on that. I'm back to phase 1, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. My bad. I forgot what the question was. What's the question?
No. It's all good. I'm sorry. I was like, there's an awkward moment. So I thought Darren was asking a question.
Yeah, I could just talk about COVID forever.
No. Let me tell you this.
I'm not trained in this,
man. But in no way to downplay what's happening in the world. But like, I am personally like COVID fatigued. Not because
absolutely.
I'm sure we all are. But like,
that's absolutely that's the scariest part about this.
But you remember after Katrina though, like being in New Orleans, like you just see anyone in the street and you'd be like, man, so what happened to you during Katrina? I feel that's kind of like what's going on now with COVID, where it's just like you can strike up a conversation with anyone, and we're about to talk about COVID.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I mean it's all going there, But
in a way, I'm a little. I got the fatigue.
Absolutely, man, absolutely, and I still have friends getting sick. We still have friends long haulers. We still got long haulers. Seemingly super healthy folks that got sick months and months ago, that are still suffering some residuals. So we don't know anything about this virus, so don't act like you do. that's all I'm saying. You know what works. Keep doing the discipline and keep up your vitamins. Keep your immune system high. Here we go.
Yeah.
Before we go, man, I do want to give you an opportunity to plug a few things, and then I want to talk about Pat Casey and the new sound and some of the other bands you played in.
Yeah. I don't have anything for sale, Darrian.
Tell them how they can connect with you on the socials and such.
I mean, a lot of the music that I release, I throw clips on Instagram. I don't record, not yet, in my own projects. But my mom told me the other day, I think I'm on 40 records. I didn't even know that. I have no idea. I don't keep up with it. And I absolutely do not like the way I record and how it sounds. I feel like I'm an outside trumpet player or something, it's just like, put me in this little room and I feel the pressure, like literally. I actually cannot play in a booth. One of those like booths where you close it up.
Yeah.
Now I can actually, like, it shuts off my range after high C. I can feel the pressure when it's wind locked like that, Yeah, I like playing for people. I like the social thing. So my best studio sessions were where it felt like we were just hanging. It felt like I wasn't just staring at a whole bunch of wires, and it didn't look superficial. You know what I mean? Didn't seem superficial. That's, those are my best situations. When I know there will be no second take, I do pretty well. But if I know, we can do this again, then I'm just I get into this weird cycle.
We'll be here all night.
Yeah, exactly. Because technically every time could be better, right? Every time, like tomorrow, can we just do this again tomorrow? It'll be better, and it'll just never stop, But I'm really pleased with one of my French besties, one of my besties from France, anyway. Calloway, her record is pretty awesome, and it's very diverse. It's all over the place, stylistically, and it's just I really like it. And that's her record called Saison, and it's a really good record. So I recommend checking that out. I'm on a track on Gabby Cavassa's record, 19th and Judah, I think is the name of the track. Not completely sure.
Yeah, I think that's the one. Yeah.
I think that's the block. In reference. I'm on the Nojo CDs. Yeah, but buy that stuff. I don't necessarily make any money off of that, but you could get a more idea what I sound like. I think my Instagram has more. I'm more exposed musically on my Instagram.
What's your Instagram handle?
Ashlin Parker.
Right?
Yeah. No fancy jazz in there.
Well, let me just having been like in the car several times driving and hearing, I was like, man, who's that trumpet player? And then hearing Fred Caston go, and Ashlin Parker on the trumpet.
That sounds just like him too. You sound just like Fred.
And I'm always like, damn, Ashlin. I mean, let me say, like, as every time I hear you, it's always a pleasure, no matter if it's on a recording session. Sunday night with Pat Casey or playing with E, playing with E back in the day. I mean, you're one of my favorite trumpet players to listen to, and you have, you have a beautiful voice on that instrument, man. You're one of the most killing trumpet players and most killing people I know.
Man, R.I.P. Ellis, though, man. Like, to me, I learned so much. There's people that told me that I was that I scored that gig too late in my career, and I was like, that's not. I just don't agree. I think I learned so much in the last 6 years. I mean, even that transferred over to education. Like almost instantly. Let alone my practices, but I think that was probably the most I learned off of one bandstand for sure in my life.
Yeah.
So
I feel the same way. So
yeah, man, so much you can learn from there. It's all in there. It's all in there, man. It's all in there.
Man, before we go, man, I want to talk because you are a community activist, bro. We saw you tearing down statues.
Hey, no. I was playing. You're gonna give me a 10-year sentence, bro. I was playing while they were legally removed by the mayor.
Oh, is that what happened? Okay.
Yes.
What's your motivation for that? Because a lot of cats wouldn't even go out there to play. They would stay home, watch it on CNN.
Yeah, I actually understand. I want to know what their motivation is to do that. It sounds like avoidance, That sounds like avoidance to me. You know what I mean? So, I think my initial reasoning was because of who was out there protecting those statues, as if they could really do that. And I just wanted to make sure that we made them seem as silly as they are, and not glorify what was going on. So, we would play, I mean, it borderline antagonizing them to a certain point. So we had to really pace it. We had to pace it well, And at a certain point, they started cheering on the songs that I was trying to insult them with. They started to actually dig them, like the playing Star Spangled Banner in harmonic minor, and and not melodic minor. Like I felt because Trump got in that we needed one more flat in there. You know what I mean? That's why we did it, and harmonic minor. But at a certain point, they're like, "Wow, it sounds like Russian," and then like they're like, they started taking their hat off for it, and then that's why I started doing a visual. I had to add a visual representation of what I was trying to really communicate. So I did it with a knee, and then that's when they really they didn't care for the performances anymore. But I think this is an historic thing. I think I went to college in Winchester, Virginia, which claim to fame was they switched over from the north to south like 149 times or something ridiculous like that. And that's like, wow, that's not something to celebrate to me. Like, you don't know who you are. Like, you have no backbone. Like, but there was Civil War reenactments all over the place. And I remember I remember the detail that they would have in these Civil War. I mean, like, yeah, John was on the top of this mountain, and then he said this, and then he walked down, and he was wearing these socks, and blah, blah, blah. And that's like, wow, you guys have agreed on what you were wearing, where the sun was, what this guy said to this guy, but you still haven't agreed on why you were fighting the war. It's just silly. It's silly, and so when I moved down here, I was at Privateer's place, and I remember my GPS saying, take a right on Robert E. Lee Drive. I was like, what? I just got out of that. I thought I was coming to Chocolate City, I was like, are you serious? You said, and I was like, is it saying, yeah, see, Robert E. Lee, wow. And then I saw all the statues, and I was like, wow, this is amazing, actually. It's like amazing that, in New Orleans, out of all places, would have any of these statues up here, and they're intimidating. They're super tall. They're towering over the rest of the town. And it's just, to me, is amazing that they were there this long,
Yeah.
And I was extremely insulted by their existence, and more insulted by their placement almost than that somebody made a statue out of them. And I was like, okay, that's your hero. But is that New Orleans hero? I just don't think we're agreed on that. So have fun putting that wherever you want to put it. Just not in the middle of, this. I mean, that's the same thing. They renamed Congo Square when the same name was one of these statues. I mean, it's the same campaign. It's the same campaign that would, that would dust Tulsa under the rug. Most of America learned about Tulsa this year when the president accidentally booked the Tulsa rally on Juneteenth. But people learned about Juneteenth, and they learned about the massacre in Tulsa. It's like that. If he didn't make that mistake, I still think it'd be a large percentage of this country that didn't know about that history.
Which is a statement towards American education. And
exactly, and that's the same marketing engine that titled jazz as well. You know what I mean? So it's all in the same stuff. As you start unpacking this stuff, you're like, wow, what campaign is this? We come in the end of campaigns, and we almost don't know what they're trying to sell us. We weren't at the beginning of it.
Right.
Same thing with classical music. I mean, we're at somewhere in the middle of a Save the Classical campaign, where classical music campaign, where every city in this country has subsidized classical music, but every city doesn't have subsidized American music.
Mm-hmm.
You have jazz at Lincoln Center. It's just
One
a
of
handful, huh?
One of one.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, you have other nonprofits trying to get these things happening, but nothing like New York Philharmonic, nothing like, Boston Pops. And that's what I would like to see in the future. I'd like us to see us invest in American music. There's nothing wrong with it, with classical music. The pedagogy starts to have some things wrong with it. Anytime you add anything to music, that's when this problems start happening, and that's no exception to music education. That's why, we probably have some revamping to do in the future, you know.
Absolutely.
But all the isms start showing up. Nothing, they're not in the music, you know. The isms aren't in the music. It's once you add a word to music production, music education, music business. Okay, there's the isms. There we found them. We found them, you know. So yeah, that's one of my ambitions is to see some more subsidized you know, American music,
American
Black
music.
American
Yeah,
music. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, you know,
yeah,
Look,
all
man,
American
absolutely.
music is.
Ashlin, man, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. But
You guys are awesome, man. Okay.
and yeah, we ran out of time. Unfortunately, we had to get you back, man. You got a lot to say.
Yeah, I feel like we were just warming up. Did you start recording yet?
Yeah,
I
man.
thought we were just catching up. I didn't know this was part of it. All right, cool.
Yeah, but
Awesome, man. It's my pleasure, Cats. It's my pleasure. You know,
thank you
my
so much.
pleasure.
Thank you so much. My name is Darrian Douglas.
My name is Gregory Agid. Y'all check out Ashlin Parker online. Wonderful trumpet player, wonderful person. And before I leave, I just want to say Alvin Baptiste used to always say, the schism is in the ism.
Hey.
And I like his definition of Black American music too. You know, or jazz. He said just African oriented rhythms, expressing themselves in the United States conditions. You know, that's all.
Dude.
That's all it is.
I love
So let's change the conditions. We might be able to, you know, deal with some more music. You know.
I love that.
Hell yeah.
All right,
All
y'all.
right, y'all. Y'all have a
See ya.
wonderful night.